This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo Jumbo and hello everybody. A very warm welcome to our sunset drive. We are in the Masai Mara of Kenya with a herd of buffaloes. My name is David. Welcome aboard to your very own safari, live from the African bush. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a huge herd of buffaloes, and in the backdrop there, on the very beautiful Ololo escarpment, you can see huge clouds and some huge wall of rain in a very warm afternoon here in the Masai Mara of 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, one more time, Jumbo everybody, and my name is David, and on camera with me this afternoon is Bungay. Now, I've come here looking for the pride of lions that we call the river pride that I haven't seen, maybe this day too. I didn't see them in the morning, but I hope we're going to see them before the clouds that you see building there get to where we are. And remember, as I said, we are coming to you live, and would love to hear from you by sending us questions or comments to hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or at SC in the comments section of the YouTube chat channels. For the young ones, boys and girls, you may do the same using kids' questions at wildearth.tv. That is our current weather right now. But the good news are, this will not stop us doing what we do best, getting you some exciting sightings, beautiful wildlife, and great experiences of the Masai Mara. These are the African Cape buffaloes. And remember, I am not the only one. We got other people who are at different locations also coming to you live.
So from the African Cape buffalo, who I think are busily grazing on the marsh there, we have the Maasai giraffe. They're walking, taking turns to feed. Now, my name is Tim. Behind camera, we have Big James. Right here in the Masai Mara, we have a bunch of giraffes. A bunch of giraffes mixed up with young females and even calves. Now, this is where we had the lions with the 4 cubs. Not quite sure if the lions moved away, but the giraffes here seems quite keenly looking, the one to the right there, while these other ones are strolling and others are eating. Now we have one by the road that is actually staring at one direction, not quite sure what he's looking at. Giraffes have a very sharp eye, and sometimes when you see them staring at one direction, then tells you there might be something. Or maybe she's just cautious, or maybe she got a smell from the recent lions that were here. Now, these giraffes have been moving up around. So during a time like this, in the cooler parts of the day, giraffes take turn browsing and stopping, because it's cool and they can be walking very slowly, which means they don't use a lot of energy. Now, this is a mixed herd where we have young males and young females, including calves. So some of these calves have already left their nursery. Giraffes will give birth at a specific place where we call it a nursery, where they leave the calves by themselves, and then the mothers will come and join them later. Now, this one here has been included by some males. You can see the one that is feeding, looking at us, facing us rather. He's a young bull, then the rest are females. So it seems like no lions around this area. They're peacefully browsing on the cover bush. So it means that it's going to be peaceful here before they take turns and go somewhere else, not far from now.
A warm welcome to a very hot day here at and Beyond Ngala. You can see even the elephants have taken a bit of shelter in under those trees, but also they've maneuvered themselves where there's a nice opening so the wind can at least blow over them. Looks like they are now starting to move, and it might be that they could go down to the water for a drink. So I'm Nikki here at and Beyond Ngala. I'm going to be your ranger for this afternoon. On camera, we have Gert that's going to be joining us. So this afternoon, we were planning on possibly going to look for elephants or buffalo. We were so lucky that as we continued with this road, just on the southern side of where the river is, we found a little herd of elephants. Now, there's a good chance, if we do keep up with them, that they would eventually go down towards the river for a drink. Or, don't know if they've even come up from a drink, and they might slowly feed until later on into this evening. But it's been such a warm day, and I won't be surprised if there'll be some more elephants going down, or even buffalo bulls like wallowing in the mud, just to try and escape this heat. Just see the tails moving. But notice some of the leaves moving, so there's at least a nice breeze. JP, it all depends on the area where the elephants occur, because in some areas there might be a lot more trees than grass, so the chances are they'll eat more plants than in comparison to grass. However, they do have a combination of both, and some times of the year, some seasons, they'll eat more grass, especially in the summertime when there's a lot more lusher green grass available. And sometimes in the winter, they'll tend to eat the bark of trees or even push over trees to get to the roots because it's more nutritious. It's a very good question, but I'm probably going to be depending on the elephant and what area and the time and the time of the year as well, that will have an influence on that.
Well, exactly. In terms of what they eat is always influenced by weather. So the summer months, typically elephants are far more on grass than they are in the winter months. That's when they tend to turn to roots and things like that when the grass dies back. Anyway, my name's Tristan. On camera, I've got Niels this afternoon. And, well, we are just on the western side of Djuma at the moment. We're following the tracks for a big herd of buffalo. It's from yesterday, but I just want to see where they went. They're kind of moving straight south down the western side of Djuma, and so I'm thinking that they might be heading down towards a dam called Treehouse Dam. There's a bit of water there, so if they're not there, then they must have crossed out. But worth following and just checking what's going on. I don't think anyone was around this side this morning. So it's a worthwhile endeavor. You also never know what can be following buffalo. We know that lions typically like buffalo, but we'll see. The Nkumas are on Hofmans to our south, so they're not on the property, so we know it's not them. I think there they are there. I think we've spotted them from a long way away. I don't know if Niels will be able to get them from here, but sometimes with buffalo you can see them from a long way away, particularly when you're high up on a ridge. So over there, is that them? Certainly looks like them. Or is it wildebeest? I think it's buffalo. Anyway, maybe wildebeest actually. I don't know. Let's go a little bit closer and go and check. Difficult to see on the screen in this light. So we'll go and have a little look and find out whether it's buffalo or wildebeest.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in Sabi-Sense in Lawfield. And it's pretty much a warm 34 degrees and 93 Fahrenheit this afternoon. And then this is how we're going to be operating around here. And my name's Andrew on camera, BK, and this is how we begin this drive this afternoon. We investigate where the Kalamba had killed. I think was from yesterday's kill. But, surprising when we get to this scene here. And there's a hyena lying right underneath of this, bottom of the drainage line. But the kill is still up in a tree. So it's promising that she could be around, but maybe not close by, or could be close by. As you can see, the kill's still there. So, in this case, I know we had to check by the dam where there was another, probably the kill she's stolen from Hyena, and then still also up in a tree, and there's no sign of her around there. And we're just gonna maybe wait for a little moment here, see what happens. Maybe she'll get back to us again.
So I think the hyena has to wait for a long while before the carcass drop down from the tree. Now here we have a pair of secretary bird walking in the long grass. Now these birds are known to eat snakes. They are the experts of snake killers. So the secretary bird has a lobe in between the legs that is so hard that they use that to stampede or even step on the snake sometimes to kill it. Now when they're walking like this, they'll be flashing out snakes and even rodents, and sometimes grasshoppers, invertebrates, and even vertebrates. Now keenly walking, they have that special eye that they're able to check anything that is running into the grass. And they're walking majestically. Now where did they... Oh, I think that one got something. Yeah, yes, it's swallowing something. Small lizard there. How lucky this evening. Now, where did the secretary bird get its name? The secretary got its name from an Arabic word meaning secretary, which means secretary. See, they look like they have a miniskirt and high heels, like the old secretaries who used to work in the office, how they used to dress. Now, this bird is always walking on the ground, but they're known to roost up on trees. Now, a single pair will build up a nest up a tree where they will be roosting at the same tree each and every day. So during the day, they'll be out and about finding food, and in the evening head back to the roosting tree. Now see the way they are walking, all of them like busy. Seems like they've walked a long distance. It seems like soon they'll be flying off to a different area because it's about to rain where we are. I'm not sure if they're lucky enough, but they wouldn't like to be wet. In this part of the Mara, it's getting a little bit dark, meaning that we're expecting a heavy storm. So these guys have to find food as soon as possible in wait for the evening.
I'm just trying to see where you are.
Yeah, but I'm going to be looking right over. I'm just going to start then.
Okay, cool. You're going to go there, up, and then to me.
Now these giraffes have decided to walk back out of the vegetation there, slowly eating. You can see that male is majestically walking. We call that the Gatewalk, which is interesting to see because the legs move side by side, both the left and the right. As you watch carefully, look at how the legs are moving in unison. The left, when he lifts the legs, the right move together and the left move together. Typical of a giraffe. So these Maasai giraffes range from the Mara all the way down to Tanzania, the Serengeti. Look at how beautiful the sky is and also the background of where this giraffe is walking. We are quite sure that there are no predators around because this is where the river pride used to hang around. So we've been searching for the river pride since this morning. But then, since we have the giraffe near the pride area or the den where the river pride had left the cubs, then no indication of, however, if the lions are here. Now, the other bunch of females are on the other side, but this guy seems to be patrolling the area quite a bit. Clear, thank you for your question. So we have two names for a group of giraffe. Now, when the giraffes are walking together in a group, we call that a journey. But when the giraffe are standing still, we call that a tower. So that is the collective name for giraffe, either in motion or maybe when they are still and not walking. So we have a tower when they're standing, and we have a journey when they're walking. So this guy is still patrolling this area. So male giraffes are known to wander from one area to another. Sometimes you see them by themselves, while females mix with younger males and a bunch of other females and youngsters. So males will walk from home area or home range to home range in search of females, maybe in estrus, so that they can mate. So it's not unusual to see giraffe males by themselves. So typical of a giraffe. You can see the oxpecker hitchhiking a ride on this giraffe's neck. So the giraffe, because of his long neck and heavy head, they are not able to groom themselves on the neck. So they depend mostly on the oxpeckers to pick on the ticks. Or maybe if the oxpeckers are not around, they'll rub against a tree. But then here he has an advantage of the oxpeckers.
Well, that's right. You'll always get oxpeckers either benefiting from the parasites of the huge herbivores or sometimes just trying to get some blood. As we see a beautiful dance here of the grey crowned cranes. Do that again. Did you see that? One just shook the wings and feathers and the other one, like shortly after, did the same. So grey crowned cranes. And apparently, during the breeding plumage, as you just saw for a couple of seconds, they have a wonderful courtship dance. It's the only other species I know of this size that will do some courtship displays, and it's done by both of them, male and the female. And I'm trying to relate them to the ostriches. To the left, there's a small bird there on that dead V, broken tree, or the dead tree. If you go to the left a little bit, Bungay, and it's like a starling. Yeah, somewhere they are very good. we'll forget the Thomson gazelle for now. And there's a blue bird there. And it's either the Hildebrand starling or the superb starling. It must be one of those from the size and from where I can see her. A Thomson gazelle behind the elephant grass. See all these animals here, in calling the birds animals too, in the same place for one commonality because of feeding. The cranes being omnivores, and many birds. If you look at the one on the right, from where, or both of them, I mean, you don't see them eating anything green there. To me, they're picking small little pebbles from the sand there. And birds have been known to do that to help in digestion. But most for the big birds, like the ostriches, I would guess that's the only thing they could be getting there. Otherwise, these cranes being omnivores, maybe they're getting some insects or some worms that have been enjoying the warmth from the substrate. The national bird of a country west of Kenya called Uganda, for those of you who could be new with us. And questions and comments are always very welcome to hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or at FC in the comment section of the YouTube chat channels. Because once we keep talking, we enjoy the interaction. Rather difficult to tell who is a boy or a girl here. Of course, the sure way to do that is when they are mating. Marianne, very good question. And you're asking how tall is this bird? Marianne, this bird is about 100 centimeters in height, or just about a meter. 3 feet, a few inches in height. But Marianne, the great crown crane, got huge wingspans of about 2 meters. But from the toes to the top of the crane is about, or rather to the toes to the top of the crown, is just about 100 centimeters or 1 meter. Now, what did you see there? It could be some larva of some sort. Good insects, which could lay eggs in such broken old trees. And I'm sure she might have picked, or he might have picked something for himself. They keep going, and sometimes using their long feet, just like the secretary birds that were with Timothy earlier, you'll see them just disturbing the grass and maybe trying to pick something they can easily catch. From grains to seeds to glass blades, they'll feed on them. But of course, if they get anything, any invertebrates as they move on, including beetles, they'll always catch and eat. Very monogamous birds, always baying in twos, and should you see a third or fourth one, they'll be their chicks. Well, wonderful to see the crown cranes. I'll be moving on to look for the lions. I had promised you earlier, if I'm lucky, the river pride.
Good luck, David. Hope you find the River Pride, wherever it may be. We have found our buffalo. So we followed their tracks all the way along, and what we saw right in the distance earlier was most definitely buffalo and not wildebeest, which is good news. It's this big herd that has been hanging around in the last sort of few weeks, and it seems like at the moment, obviously, they're all just grazing, which I'm quite surprised about, given how warm it is now. I was expecting them to be under some shade and just kind of sitting, not moving too much, but the whole herd is grazing, and it looks like they're going to graze their way up towards the main big dam close to the lodge, so Gari Dam, for those of you that do know it. They've got quite a long way to go, and it will probably take them a good hour and a half to get there, but they are heading in that direction, which is always a nice thing. The other good thing is that The wind that's blowing at the moment is blowing from north to south. Now, earlier I said that the Nkuhumas were south of here, and so maybe they'll pick up the scent and maybe come up during the course of this afternoon. Bianca, you say, what a huge buffalo herd? Well, it's bigger than you think, because from this little perspective that we have right here, you actually can't see many of them. But as we were driving up, we could see a little bit further to the right, and so I reckon there's probably a good 300 buffalo here, maybe more. So it is a really nice-sized herd. Lots of big bulls up in the front, and then you're going to find your cows and your calves will all be in the middle. But it's so good to see herds like this. It's been many years of hardship for our buffalo, starting in 2015 when the drought started to kind of take effect, and 2016, 2017 was really the harshest years for them, and it caused a massive amount of buffalo to die off within this ecosystem. And so from there we started to not see the same herds. We didn't see many of the same numbers of buffalo coming through, and in fact we went a period of time, it was almost like 6 months without seeing buffalo in this area, which is unusual. Normally, particularly in the winter months, we would see buffalo rolling through in these kind of large groupings, and it's so good to have big herds back again. They're an interesting species. A lot of people are not really fazed by buffalo. A lot of people kind of like, oh, it's a glorified cow. But actually, they're amazing animals from a point of view of how they use the herd for safety, and just the general demeanor of these guys leaves a lot to be respected. You know, you've got an animal that is big, it has got a heavy set of horns, and it's got a temper to match, and it is not afraid of defending itself and chasing down and charging and defending those within the grouping from predators and people alike. So I have a lot of time for buffalo. I find them pretty interesting creatures, particularly in large herds like this. Find this sort of social dynamics quite interesting to watch. Also is a great opportunity to find yellow-billed oxpeckers in herds like this. So we'll stick with them for a bit and see what happens. Hopefully we'll be able to find the birds, and like I say, hopefully the Nkuhumas will show up behind them later this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is a beautiful, warm afternoon here at Tall Is Giraffe. This afternoon we are on the mission for lions. We picked up on a couple of lion tracks earlier this afternoon coming from that direction. By the way, my name is Moritz, and behind the camera, as always, we've got David. And just to come back to the lion tracks, we've actually just picked up on it again. So it was coming from that direction, going through the block over here, and now we see the male is actually walking on the road back in that direction. So he's zigzagging a bit, maybe because he's looking for the females or another male or something like that. But he's definitely going in this direction, and the tracks are looking rather good. So we're hoping that we might pick up on them. And then as soon as we do that, we're going to show them to you. But just beautiful, guys. I mean, have a look at it. This is the closest that we can get to having a white Christmas tree. And that's just these little black thorns over here. Look at all these beautiful, beautiful flowers. Almost like little balls of popcorn. And it is completely, all of them at the moment, completely in bloom. You actually find the oryx and I've seen the giraffe as well, feeding on these little blossoms at the moment. So very, very cool.
Well, as you can see, we're still with our buffalo. They're slowly starting to emerge, but what's really cool with these guys is that they have a very different way of drinking. If we can just go to the right, there's a cow drinking from its mom in the unique way that buffalo do drink. I mean, this poor mother is being head-butted at this stage, but do you see how it's drinking from between the back legs? Now, most animals don't drink like that. Most animals drink from the side of the mother, and the reason, no, big bull, you've now blocked our view completely. But the reason that they drink from the side is just obviously ease of access to the teats. But with buffalo, that's a bit of a problem because it's a herd animal, and as we're saying, there's all these predators that follow them around, particularly lions. You get a situation where cows and calves can't really spend long time standing, because what that often means is that they then get left at the back of the herd. And as they're left at the back of the herd, so you're going to see them being easy pickings for predators that potentially are following the herd. And so what they've managed to adapt to is feeding between the mother's legs, and that allows the mother to actually keep walking and the baby to continually feed while the mother walks, and therefore stay with the herd and not expose themselves or be left behind by the grouping, which is very, very clever. It's, like I say, one of the only animals that we see drinking like this in this particular part of the world. The only problem with that feeding method is, if you're a baby buffalo, is that mom sometimes, I'm afraid, is very inconsiderate, and she will defecate on the baby's head sometimes, which is never a nice thing to happen. But every now and then you'll see these poor buffalo with these little patties kind of pasted to their forehead from where mom has decided to go to the toilet while baby's been drinking. Was that a bit of milk that dropped down? I don't know. I thought I saw something drip down there. So, Angie, they don't migrate in the sense of the word like wildebeest do. So wildebeest migration is a particular route that's been taken in order to follow rains. Buffalo are more kind of, they move, but it's not a migration in the same kind of direction every year. With these guys, they moved according to where they can find food and water. And so if that means that today, let's say hypothetically, we had some rain and it filled up a little pan and some green grass grew nearby, then they would move to that area and feed off it, and they'd stick around that area for a while. So I suppose they do migrate, if you want to call it that, but not in a standardized sense. So it's not like there's a route that they're going to take every year, the same route, the same way. So not like wildebeest or birds or those kinds of things. These guys are really just dependent on what nature throws at them in terms of conditions. So they have areas that they like to frequent, and if those areas receive rain, then they spend time there. If it doesn't, then they'll try to find other areas in order to survive. So they just move according to food and water availability, which is very variable in an ecosystem like the Kruger. To give you an idea of how variable it can be, is that a few years ago in this particular section where we are right now, we in an afternoon received about 15 millimeters of rain, or what would that be? I think it's about an inch and a half or 2 inches, somewhere close to that, maybe a little bit less. Whereas about 5 kilometers to the north of us, so 3 miles to the north of us, they received 120 millimeters of rain. And so in inches, I mean, that's over 10 inches, which gives you an idea of just how different the rain can be here in very small places. And so they'll then just move between those areas and pockets that have received rain. Good. Well, we'll keep up with these guys. They're slowly starting to emerge. The whole herd is starting to come out, which is nice. And we'll try and see if we can follow them for most of the afternoon and see what they get up to. I'm sure there'll be some interesting things along the way.
So we have this pair of crested crane slowly munching their way back to their roosting site. Before the storm, they have to at least feed a little while before they get back to where they will normally settle for the night. Now this pair, remember we talked about earlier today in the morning segment that how endangered or critically endangered these cranes are. Now, in our morning safari, we had a pair of crested crane with 2 chicks that are almost fledging to get into the full color plumage. Now, this pair that we have right now can't see the chicks, but we're sure that they're doing a very good parental care. I like the way the wind is blowing onto their crest, which makes it more colorful and even beautiful. See that one looking on this other side, not quite sure about the wind and the rain, while the female is busy walking towards the right. Look at how the wind is blowing the crest and the feathers on the nest, on the neck. Now we have, they were quite curious because a butler eagle just flew over, but they're not quite deterred by the butler eagle. Now these two will just walk slowly. They build their nest near the marsh area where at least it's safe from jackals and hyenas and other predators, where at least they cannot walk into the water to get to where they roost.
So talking about hyenas, we've managed to find 6 hyenas, but look at where they are. So 2 of them are lying down in the water, and the others, especially that one just out of the water, is lying down on the cool mud. Now, often on a really warm day, remember we said the elephants will go to drink or might go and flick mud on themselves, or buffalo can go and wallow in the mud. Now, sometimes hyenas on a really warm day will go and lie down in these little puddles of water to cool themselves down, like you can see there. And it's not just something that you see everywhere. I mean, in some areas you might find this, but I remember as a guide, like I guided for quite a few years in another reserve, and when I came here to Ambion and Angola, it was the first time I ever saw hyenas doing this. So that was really interesting to me, to be able to see that behavior.
Oh, sorry about that. Unfortunately, part of being out in the wilderness is sometimes we have a few technical difficulties, but there you can see perfectly what I was talking about with baby following mom. See how it's still drinking milk even though mom is walking? So it works like an absolute treat, and the baby is able to continue getting the nutrients it needs. Now, that particular mother is a young mother. You can see she's still quite light in coloration. She hasn't darkened as much as the older females. So it's still fairly, I would imagine, probably one of her first little calves that she's had. Very, very cool, though. It's always nice when an animal does what you say that they sometimes will do, because sometimes animals have this knack of just completely doing the opposite of what you think they'll do. So you'll say like a calf will drink like that, and then it will walk to the side and drink like a normal baby, so these things always happen to us out here. So it's nice when they pay attention and do it the right way. But you can see how big this herd is. If you have a look at how far they are kind of down the road, there's buffalo crossing. It's stretching, I would say, probably about 100 meters to 200 meters along, and probably at the moment there's easily about 100 meters deep into the bush on the one side of the road that still has to come over. So in fact, I reckon there's probably more than 300 here, maybe even closer to 400, which is a really, really nice size herd. It's still not as big as the herds that we used to see. Back in 2011, 2012, that period, we had floods in this area, and then we saw big buffalo herds, and those herds often were close to 1,000 individuals, which is a serious amount of buffalo to be in the same place, and an amazing sight to see where those guys have gone. And the thing about them is, what always used to amaze me is not so much the seeing of the buffalo, but the aftermath of when they'd been somewhere, how the grass was all trampled. So, Boris, the horns of a buffalo, like all the antelopes down here in Africa, are a part of the skull, yes. So what it is it's a bony structure that is fused to the skull, that is then covered in what's called keratin, so the same as your fingernails. That covers the bony structure, and the bone will continue to grow, and the keratin over the top. And it's why, if, let's say, this bull buffalo that you see here, if he were to break his horn, it's not going to grow back. If you cut your arm off, your arm doesn't grow back again. It's not like Northern Hemisphere antelope where their horns grow back, or their antlers, should I say, grow back. So yes, it is a bony structure, and yes, it is fused to the skull, so it is a kind of part of the skull. And it forms on the skull. It calcifies on the top of the skull. But I mean, the buffalo bull has a serious set of horns. I mean, you look at the thickness of that bony structure on top of its head, and you can imagine how hard that must be. That is pure bone underneath there. It is seriously strong stuff. So much so that there's even been many reports of hunters back in the day that used to try and hunt these guys that would fire a shot and it would actually ricochet off that bony deposit on top of their head, and the hunter would be left kind of scratching his head a little bit. So it is really hard on there, and it is designed purposely so that if these bulls are fighting in competition for females and they butt heads, that they're not damaging their skulls too much, or their brain, should I say. The horn will take the impact and the boss will take the impact rather than the brain case that they have. So it's a clever system. And you can clearly see the kind of differences between the males and the females in terms of their horn structures. The males have very clear defined boss, so that's that big thickened area just above the top of the head. So you'll see there's like this kind of rounded shape. So that's the male on the right, and then the female on the left. There you see how on top of her head it's almost like hairy and it doesn't look as big. So they don't have a really massively developed set of horns, and that's purely based off what I was saying just now, is that there's not as much competition in females in terms of the being able to mate with, they don't have to fight over it. Their horns would be in some ways a defensive feature more than it would be to establish any sort of hierarchy in the female society. And make no mistake that a buffalo does use its horns as a defensive mechanism as well. I have personally seen lions and what can happen to them when these guys get hold of them. They're not shy to try and use their horns, and it's why lions, when they attack buffalo, are very careful about how they go after them. They'll typically always try to stay at the back, and very seldom do you see a lion going after the throat or the nose until the buffalo is down. Once the buffalo is down and it's been weakened, then they'll try and do that. But starting out, they generally try and go to the back, and if it's a male buffalo, going to be targeting mostly the genital area as well as the tendons on the back of the legs. And what they're going to try and do is they're going to try and sever those tendons and remove the genitals, particularly the scrotum, and that means that this animal will start to lose blood and weaken very quickly. And they don't have as much danger there, because you can imagine a buffalo's first response is to try and move away. It doesn't kick very well from behind, and so it's going to try and use its horns more than anything else. And so if they can stay at the back and they can weaken it by going after those tendons and those genitals, then it's much easier for them than trying to tackle a buffalo and trying to get onto its nose and risking being impaled by these horns and possible death. So buffalo, shame. That's the one weakness they do have, is that particularly on the males, is that they have rather low-hanging fruit, if you want to call it that. And that means that they get targeted a little bit, and it's why there's been reported cases of honey badgers and wild dogs bringing down buffalo bulls, because of them targeting their genitals and causing massive amounts of blood loss from there. What's interesting, though, is that it seems like the herd is in two minds. There's a lot of animals that are moving, but there's also quite a few that have started to actually sit down in shady spots. So I feel like they're kind of not sure just yet where they want to go. Everybody's sort of on their own mission at this stage. But you'll find as the herd starts to move and the majority move, then those that are sitting will start to stand up and kind of join in with the movement that takes place. But this is so nice. They're such a relaxed grouping. Often buffalo can be a little bit twitchy around cars, but these guys are feeding right up near us, which is always cool. So we'll just enjoy their company, and like I say, we'll see what they get up to during the course of the afternoon.
So I can say buffaloes are one of the most successful herbivores here in the savannah, or maybe in Africa. Now we have a herd of elephants now walking back to a higher ground. They're walking away from the marsh. We have a storm that is looming, and I think that is why they are walking from the low ground to a higher ground, which is typical of what these elephants do on a daily basis. We see them walking from the higher ground at around 9-ish in the morning, walking to the swamp, eating the soft grass in the swamp, and sometimes going to the river and crossing over to the reserve area. I see mom there stopping for her calf, and then they slowly walk together. Now, at this time where the wildebeest, or maybe the migration, is not around this area, then we have lots of elephants. Sometimes when the wildebeest and zebras are in plenty here, they tend to push off the elephants from this area. See that cow there has a very unique tusk. If James can zoom in a little bit to that cow. Now, elephant tusks are modified upper incisors, and like humans, we all have dental problems. I think this one has a little bit of a dental problem. One tusk is facing up and one tusk is facing down. That is typical of how you will identify an elephant. Now, I've seen this elephant for, I would say, more than 6 years. I've known her because of her tusk. That is easy way of how to recognize elephants. And if they don't have tusks, sometimes we recognize them by the ear pattern. Sometimes they have punctures on their ears, or maybe webbed ears. That is how we'll definitely ID an elephant. So from one side, maybe on the side of the ear and maybe on the front, that is how you'll identify an elephant. Now, the matriarch on this herd, she's hardly walking, because I think, see, this one is sniffing the air. So I think because of the storm that is coming, that is why they're walking up very fast. Sometimes in a low area like this, you never know when there's flash floods coming in, so elephants need, or maybe all the animals need to be on a raised area away from the waters and the storm that may be looming. Look at how gray and dark some are. It's because they've been in the water. Looks like she's the matriarch there. She's the one leading, the one up in the front. Very good mom to have raised such a big herd like this. Typical of very experienced matriarch who lead the members of the herd into maturity.
Beautiful matriarchs, always very good. You know, they're the one that take care of, you know, the whole herd, you know, making sure they lead them to a very good grazing area. And I'm going to move forward. Looks like, you know, on our way, look around for Tlalamba and nothing around. So we just, you know, saw another big bull elephant right in front of us. So I'm going to take another closer look. Looks like he was not actually friendly with us. You know, he just kept distance all the time. Just going to get closer. We'll get to see him again. And, well, it's probably just because I've seen a lot of tracks of the elephant's herd leading away from the deer. And we're not far away from there. It's probably behind the whole herd tracks. And yeah, you know, we just get into this scene here. It could happen that maybe the rest of the herd around nearby. But yeah, we'll find out. Just gonna try to find another visual.
So as you can see, we're still sitting with the buffalo, and really they haven't gone very far at all. They weirdly are kind of just milling. They're crossing the road and then crossing back, and kind of don't really seem like they have a direction that they actually want to follow at this stage. I suspect maybe it's part of it being quite warm. They seem like they're just sort of a bit lethargic, if anything, which I can completely understand. But what surprises me is generally when it's hot like this, they try and move to the nearest water point as quick as possible. Now, what could have happened is they could have already had water just before we found them, just behind where they've come from. So behind this whole herd is a water hole called Treehouse Dam. So they might have drank there already, and now they're just kind of grazing and finding a spot to settle down. What you might also hear on the mics is that it's very windy. And so often when it's very windy, buffalo like to find more open areas in order to rest and to lie down, particularly for the night time. And so where we are right now is a massive fire break and a road, and so there's no better place for buffalo to lie down than where we're sitting right now. But as yet, still haven't seen any yellow bulldog speckers. I heard them calling just now, so they are here, but I haven't seen them yet. It's just red bulls so far that I've managed to pick up, but there's still so many buffalo that need to make their way out of this thicket that they could be deep in there, just sitting with the rest. So Sir 50, when it comes to mating season, if you want to call it that, buffalo don't really have a season. They're much like cats and elephants. They mate pretty much any time of the year. And so what happens in these herds is that males will compete when a female comes into estrus. So as a female comes into estrus, she defecates, urinates. A male buffalo is going to pick up that scent via the organ of Jacobson, so that organ that sits in the roof of their mouth. And you'll find that they often, after a female is defecated or urinated, they come up and they sniff it, and then they curl their lips back and they basically test it and try and work out, wait, is this female in estrus? Can she be mated with? If that is the case, then bulls will be attracted to that. And what happens then is the bulls will then compete with one another and fight with one another in order to establish who's going to get mating rights with that female. It's something that can be quick, and it can be over within a minute, and the male can mate, and a different male then can come and try and mate with her. So there's quite a lot of changeover, and it's not always fight to the death or fight for long periods of time. But I have seen buffalo fighting over a female once before that lasted in excess of 30 minutes, where they were hitting each other and kind of trying to push each other around. So it does happen from time to time for longer periods, but most of the time it's quick. It's a few pushes and shoves, and one realizes it's not as strong as the other one and backs off pretty quickly. And so that's part of the reason also why the males don't stay within the herd structures, is that one is there's not a defined breeding season. So it means that they can drop in and out as they please and still find mating rights. And two, they compete with one another, and maybe they feel like there's just too many bulls in this particular herd, so they drop off and they find themselves a good area where there's water and food, and then they wait for a herd to come past and potentially better mating rights with that particular herd.
Well, it's always good to see buffaloes in the afternoon, and to see them doing something in the heat of the day. It is something because they tend to slow down when they get very warm. Now, I got animals here that will always be on the move, and if you look carefully there, I got 3 different species of antelopes here. The one moving to right. One of our smallest gazelles that we have here looks to be like the Thompson gazelle. One that's very similar to that is the Grant's gazelle, and being followed by impalas. This should be a breeding herd. You can see so many lambs in this particular group. And then you got the toppies. Sometimes they call them the sesebes of East Africa. And I've always thought these ones are much lighter in color, unlike the sesebes that you see in South Africa, and slightly bit larger. That's how I see them. And both males and females, of course, the sesebes with horns. If you listen carefully, you might hear some raindrops on our rain covers. But I'm sure all of you know baby Jasiri, And I'm seeing another baby toppy here. Look at her. See her walking gait, not the very best. She's so tiny, so new, and not sure it's her hindquarters or one of her feet or both that are not okay. When I first saw her, I saw her back left foot like it was having an issue and she could walk running while that foot was airborne. But the mother's still very attached to her baby. I'm just trying to investigate what could be wrong. Baby Jasuri is a baby elephant that we saw here 2 weeks ago that had an issue with her front right leg, but she has since been taken care of by the vet doctors and doing a lot better. Albeit not seeing her for the last few days, but I got some update from the game rangers that she's doing fine. Classical, you're asking about the rains and the wild animals. Now, look at those toppies there, the two and the baby. You notice they're not feeding, not even chewing cud. Maybe the front one did. But once it rains, and look at the grass also, it's very windy. So the raindrops, the wind, makes them very, or rather they tend to panic and makes them very uncomfortable because it's at this particular weather conditions that they're very vulnerable to predators. In general, they'll always be very alert just in case they do not pick any danger because the rains will always take their concentration. I want to stay here a few more minutes, not exactly the Thompson gazelles, but find out what could be wrong with that baby toppy.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very windy and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've come across this lioness with her 2 youngsters out in the open plains. This afternoon, my name is Grant, and behind the camera is Craig. And we've come out into the open grassy areas of the western part of Phinda, and we've come back to where Matt was this morning with this pride of lions, and it looks like we've arrived just in time. These cubs have gotten up and they've started to suckle from mom, and there's quite a bit of very cute interaction happening. Mom is grooming them, but they're still looking quite sleepy. It's been very, very, very hot today, and the wind has been blowing pretty strongly, so they're lying in a little bit of shade there and out on some open exposed soil away from the grass. And I'm sure that the breeze that's blowing at the moment is just cooling them down nicely. But as you can see, the cubs are still full of energy. Well, they've actually been sleeping, so they're slowly starting to wake up. And everything that moves is catching their attention like a little fly. And when the wind wiggles the grass close to them. But they are hitting the snooze button a little bit. So the process of waking up is just happening now. So Sven is asking how long do they sleep for. So adult lions, it's not unusual for them to sleep between 18 and 22 hours out of a 24-hour day. If they've got a full belly, they have water nearby, they will sleep, wake up, go and drink. But with the cubs it's different, so they've got to spend a lot of their time and energy playing and learning, while mom rests and conserves her energy for hunting. The cubs need to burn all of their energy playing They need to also burn energy on fighting with one another, building their muscles, practicing the skills that they'll need when they're older. So we're going to just sit and enjoy as they start the waking up process.
Beautiful. So yeah, that beautiful bull elephant that we saw was more than one. So there's 3 bulls in this area. It's kind of a wind picking up already, but you can see how they're now, mobile. Probably, like I said, there was a lot of tracks of elephants, herds in this area, and they all lead the same direction where these males are going. It's probably that they're behind them, and then this is how they're going to keep, these whole herds scent, and then they follow them until they get them. Well, there's a water station anyway where they're going. It's all about maybe going to drink. And then, of course, these whole herds are probably moved far away for now. But these animals, they contact, they always communicate. And then from that point, when they ever come across where the other herds has moved through, they can even tell how recent it was. And if it's also older, it's not worth it for, fodder, then they're just going to forget about it and move on. So what you see in there, this is one of the big male that we first spot. But, there was actually another 2 young bulls in the area. This is how they operate. 2 males, 3 males, maybe probably 4 males in the area, 8 males in the area. And that still cooperate together. It's all about respect to one another. Remember, these teenager young males, when they get out, or they're pushed out from their parents, and this is how they come. They come into this older male, able to learn from them, able to follow them, behind, and learn all, operational in the area. Eventually, they get used to it, because for the first time when they move out of the herd, it's very difficult for them, these young males, to understand why we're not allowed to be in a herd anymore, until they understand, maybe this is the situations. And then, this is how they're going to be going right there, disappearing like that. Just going to carry on, look for Talamba again.
Now, when the earlies disappear, then the lions appears. We have 3 of the Owino Pride lionesses. And so, see one there, I think she's going for a little rest. So taking a rest. And this other one here that is also resting. At this time, they also want to go for some food. But some minutes before, we had one of the males called Blondie, suspecting from the River Pride, that tried to come and join these guys. But the girls are not as happy, so they've chased him away, and he's sleeping somewhere not far from where we are. One of these females, the one that you're looking at, has a tracking collar. This will help research in lion tracking and also lion research to then identify and also to locate the movement pattern of this pride. If the pride come together to clash, or how they overlap territory to territory, or how they move from or within their territory. Now, earlier yesterday, we saw these lionesses trying to hunt, but I'm quite sure they are not successful by the way they are looking. They look a little bit, not skinny, but I would say that they look a little bit hungry. At this time of the day, when it's about to rain, then it's a good weather for them to go for prey, simply because prey will not smell or detect lions within the area, so they can only smell the rain. So these lionesses have an advantage. I'm crossing fingers for them to get something to eat tonight. While watching this other one, she's looking on that side, while this other one is looking on this side. So they don't want to keep Blondie close to them. So I think that's why, oh, that's a big yawn. Jane, thank you for your question. How many males are in the Rhino Pride? So we don't have a male yet, but we have a male that has been overlapping these territories. So that is the reason why these girls are not happy with that male, simply because there is no dominant male here. We had two, we call them the Triangle Boys, they were the Triangle Boys. So we have some 3 lions that have come into this Mara Triangle, and I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a mess when they come in. That is the reason why these girls are not happy keeping Blondie away. A bit of a scratch. I think the collar is too heavy. Not used.
Well, it's been, as you can see, a confusing afternoon for the buffalo. In many respects, they crossed the road and now they're all crossing back again. They've decided that's not where they want to go. They want to now go and lie back on the southern side of the road. And so, for some reason, have just turned around all of a sudden and walked back. What's interesting, though, is one by one they're starting to sit down now. So I suspect that this is where they're going to settle for the afternoon. I don't even think they're going to try and go for water anytime soon. Maybe later this afternoon we might see them get up and move, but for now they just kind of starting to, almost like I said, drop like flies. Each one is just sort of sitting and finding a shady spot and kind of resting. So the herd is prepping for an afternoon's break. What was interesting though is that they were feeding into the wind, which is something that you often see animals doing, particularly giraffe, funny enough, they feed into the wind. And that's because they don't want trees to be transmitting pheromones to produce tannins, and so they try to do that. But these buffalo are also trying to feed into the wind, and it's not the worst idea for animals that are hunted. If you feed into the wind and anything that's in front of you, like lions, potentially their scent is going to be blowing onto you and you'll be able to pick them up before you get to them. The problem is with lions is that lions hear oxpeckers, they hear the grunts and bellows of buffalo, and they smell them, and they'll often then try and loop around them and come from behind rather than sort of the front side of them. So I don't know if maybe that's why they caught something on the wind. We know there's been a few lions moving around, particularly where we are now. This is where the Talamatis were 2 nights ago. And so maybe they kind of caught the scent of them in the block there and have just decided, nope, we're going to turn around and just go back to where we know it's safe and to the rest of the herd. So I think what we'll probably do is leave them here for now, and I want to go and try and see if I can find Tundi this afternoon, because she was seen at about lunchtime. She was seen close to Cheetah cut line, so I'm going to go try and see if we can find her this afternoon. Rosalind, depends on what they're doing, really. If a buffalo is just like what they're doing now, they aren't very loud. You can hear them. You can hear kind of the munching of grass and the movement of branches every now and then as they walk. And if one or two push each other, then you hear a little grunt or a bellow. What really gives them away, funnily enough, more than anything, is the noise of the oxpeckers. The oxpeckers make a serious racket, and so you hear them more than you actually hear the buffalo. But if a buffalo is in distress, you will hear it from a long way away. You can sometimes hear lions killing buffalo from a good 2, 3, 4 kilometers away if the terrain is right, from the bellows that they make when they're in distress. Right, I think we're going to carry on. We're going to go try and see if we can find Tundi, and then we'll come back here just before sunset and see what these guys have been up to.
Welcome back to Ambient Pind, everyone. We haven't moved, but this big elephant bull has just arrived at a waterhole while we were watching the lioness and the 2 cubs. And it looks like there's 2 more elephants coming up behind him. And he's just arrived at the water, and first thing he did was throw mud all over himself. It looks like now he's heading towards the water where he might have a drink. It's interesting behavior that he's doing there, flicking his trunk like that. Ron is asking an interesting question. Why are elephants referred to as ecosystem engineers? There you can see a little bit of water spraying. And he's just wiping the top. He's making sure that there's no algae or anything that he's going to drink or suck up his trunk and spray into his mouth. So he wipes the top of the water just to clear anything that he doesn't want to suck up. But ecosystem engineers, Ron, because they are so big and powerful, and they are able to basically restructure the landscape. So by elephants breaking trees, pushing over trees, uprooting trees, gives an opportunity for rain to run through that area, to wash away a lot of the soil, might start to create erosion gullies, and that's how little valleys are formed. In those valleys, water might hold for longer, and then the valley might start to become a lot more dense where it was previously grassland. So just because of their feeding habits, that is why they are sometimes referred to as ecosystem engineers. They also feed on such a wide variety of stuff, or of plant matter, that and they feed on such a huge amount that's also another reason why they're referred to as ecosystem engineers. So as he slurps up water into his trunk and sprays it down his throat, he's already, as I mentioned, he's already thrown mud onto himself, and now the wind is blowing. You can imagine that mud sitting on his body. When the wind blows, it will cool him down quite a lot. And you see, it's now he's taking his first few sips, so he doesn't spill much, but once he's actually starting to get quite full from the water, he will start to spill quite a lot. But we're going to stick here and see what happens.
How incredible is this water scene? There's so much happening here. I'm going to try and see if we can show all the viewers all the different animals that have come down to drink. Now, off to the right, you'll notice there's 2 giraffes that have just drank, and they've moved off slightly away from the water. Now, the wind is blowing quite hard, and I don't know if they might have gotten a fright and just moved slightly away just to see what it is and then maybe go back. But there were some hippos moving in the water quite close to where they are. I'm trying to see if we can see that hippo. It doesn't look like it at the moment. I think that hippo had just gone under the water. But the other day we actually found quite a few lions in this particular area. So we wanted to come past to see if there's any signs of wild dogs or maybe even lions. But also if there's any other animals that have come down to drink. And how amazing is it being able to find giraffes. Of course, an animal that you often see with the water is something like a hippo. There you can see the one hippo that just came up to breathe. Notice the ripples on the water. So there's quite a strong breeze that's blowing from almost where the hippo is towards us.
Well, a strong breeze going towards Snakey, but here, strong rain coming towards us. Now, look on that black rhino there and see she got a shiny coat. It's just because of the rains that we're having currently in the Masimara. I brought my rain covers down, not to be soaked, but I have a small window that Bungay, who is behind the camera today, loves to open. And luckily we have spotted that black rhino heading to the trees, which you see in the background there. In the Masai Mara, we only got the black rhinos that are native to East Africa. And it's very, very usual to see them solitary as they are. A male on his own, a female, unless the female with a calf. Unlike the white rhinos, which are rather social, more social than the black rhinos. You might see 5, 6, sometimes up to 10 white rhinos. But the blacks, unless a male and a female, when they are courting or mating, in general, you'll always see the bulls on their own. Gemma, a very good afternoon. Maybe it's a good morning where you are. Gemma, you say gorgeous, yes. And it's always wonderful, Gemma, to spot rhinos here in the Masai Mara. Initially, my plans were to look for some lions, Gemma, but then the lions, they got buffaloes, they got lots of birds. And now there we are with the black rhino. Gets the males. The sprays they do. And that's definitely marking their territories. Black rhinos are very territorial, and especially the males. Sometimes you'll see them dropping their poop and then just scrapping it through and also peeing at the same time, and that's like double marking territory at the same time. Look at her carefully. She just goes and goes non-stop, because ideally black rhinos are browsers. So not much should eat there. She's just walking past the grass, not bothered, unlike elephants or buffaloes that will stop. But should she stop, she'll stop to browse on a bush like the one that's in front of him or her. But apparently, I think he's heading to the thickets there where he might get some, or she might get some rain cover. Well, good to see a rhino as I move on.
So we have a limping lion there. His name is Blondie. He's trying to follow the Owino lionesses. But a little while, they were not happy with him. But you can see over on a termite mound, there's one of the lionesses there. So he's trying to walk closely because he's limping while keeping off his distance. One of the lionesses there is crouching. I'm not sure how her reaction will be. But then you find that he has to follow them because he knows very well that they're about to go and hunt. That is the reason why he has to keep his pace and wait in line before they go for any action. Look at how that is one of the aggressive display lions do, by lifting the tail, looking keenly, and the ears moving forward, and eyes locked on the target. Seems like she's not happy with him. I think he's gone down, laid down, keeping his distance away. They're not from the same pride. The Blondie, I think, comes from a river pride. And because this is another pride, they don't always want other males around them. This is the lioness with the collar. And I think the reason why she has a collar because she's the alpha female for this pride. Oh, she's got her eyes on something. They're definitely on a mission. And their mission this evening is get something. So they've been walking around this territory, up and down, moving to see what they'll find, while also keeping Blondie off from where they are. The other lionesses have walked in front of her. She's the one that has been left behind, while she's keeping eye on Blondie. A big yawn, typical for lions at this time of the day. Now, because of the rain tonight, I hope that they'll find something to eat. They tried yesterday hunting warthog, but they missed by a very close distance. So tonight, I hope they head to where the zebras are, because the direction they're heading is where the zebras and the wildebeest are all at. So quite sure that they'll be lucky this evening. We tried to find them this morning, but we couldn't locate them. The grass was so wet and so cold. So we're going to wait here and see what they're up to.
Well, I suppose I better say good afternoon here and welcome to Pridelands, because that's where we're driving around. But fortunately for us, we have a vulture in a tree that doesn't look like it is going anywhere. Really, really high up in a knobthorn. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is, as usual, Odie. And we are driving down on Pridelands, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve, almost in the southeastern corner. I thought we'd just come up and check on the vulture, because I know that, well, I suppose it could have flown away from us, but luckily it didn't, because everything else that we've had this afternoon has trotted on off. We did have some elephants. We caught up with Kumo, our big bull that we see on a regular basis, but he went into a drainage line and disappeared. But this vulture nest we've been checking on for quite some time. I've actually completely forgotten the first time I've showed you this vulture nest. Perhaps somebody who is very good at remembering dates and sightings, because I'm not, I could refresh my memory. You can hashtag WildEarth and let me know. It was probably about 3 months ago now. I can't actually even pinpoint it, but it was a very, very long time ago. It was when I was still exploring Pridelands and trying to learn the reserve. Now, I don't know if a chick has hatched or if it hasn't, but they normally only lay one egg, these white-backed vultures. And sometimes they'll just keep sitting on them, even if the chick hasn't hatched and it isn't going to hatch. They'll just sit on it for ages and ages. But it's really difficult to see inside that nest, because, as I said, it likes to, well, in this case, it has made its nest on a knobthorn tree, and they are exceptionally tall trees. They also use marula trees, but most of the vulture nests that we see on Pridelands are down in the southeastern corner. There's a couple of boerbeens and jackalberries, and then, like you can see, most of these very, very tall trees are the knobthorns. I wouldn't want to climb all the way up there and eat any vulture chicks or eggs, but we know that at Ngala there is a leopard named Makoti, and he was quite fond of eating vulture chicks. But I think that this vulture will be safe. But you can see that they've been here for quite some time. It looks like there's quite a bit of feces on those twigs, I think. I could just be imagining it. No, that is indeed. Because the male and female, they'll also take turns sitting up on this nest. And it must be so hot for this vulture. I don't know if it's the male or female. It's very, very difficult to tell them apart, especially if they aren't sitting next to one another. But another one could be away, hopefully in the shade. I mean, we've barely been sitting in the sun for 5 minutes, and Odie and I are really working up a sweat and a suntan. Maybe more a shirt tan than a suntan. But there it is. But Odie did say that Mike and him the other day popped past here, and they thought they saw something quite fluffy in the middle of the nest. So maybe there is a chick, but it takes them quite a long time to develop. So I don't know if we'll be seeing it, unless we could climb up onto the top of another knobthorn and then hopefully have a look at it. Deep Blue, that's actually a really good question. Talking about things not wanting to climb up the tree, she said, would baboons ever raid this nest? Potentially. You never know, especially at this time of the year where there's not much to eat. Eggs are on the menu for baboons. Anybody that's ever stayed in the Kruger National Park or any other wilderness area, and not just in South Africa but over Africa, will know that vervet monkeys and baboons are particularly fond of eggs and will break in and take them. But baboons also like to eat ostrich eggs and any ground-dwelling eggs, or any eggs that they can really find. So maybe, but perhaps because the nest is so high up, right on the top of the tree, maybe that will be a bit of a deterrent. Also, this knobthorn doesn't have any flowers on it, so there's no real need, and it's got no leaves, so there's nothing really drawing it up there other than the vulture's nest. But in times of drought, animals get desperate and they'll do anything to get a meal.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinde, everyone. And that elephant bull we were watching earlier, his two compatriots have joined him at the water. Speaking of drought, it is extremely dry around here, around the area where we are. You might be able to tell from the vegetation around these elephants. And so where we are right now is actually one of the last remaining little bodies of water for all the animals in this area. And so these elephants have actually come from quite a dense area where I think they were feeding and resting throughout the day in some nice shade. And now they're just quenching their thirst. See that one wasting on the right, wasting quite a bit. He's already had quite a few trunkfuls of water, and now he's starting to play a little bit. So, Sonia is asking how big is an elephant's tusk. So it really varies, but if we had to look at the one closest to us that's now busy mud wallowing, I would say his tusks are just short of a meter. So they're probably about 80 to 90 centimeters long. Remember, they also extend, so we can see a portion of it sticking out of the elephant's face, but then there's also, it all goes all the way into its skin and actually attaches in the jaw. So the tusk is actually a modified tooth, and so there's still quite a bit of tusk going into his cheek there. And in circumference, I'd say probably as wide as like a melon fruit. If you know what the size of a melon fruit is, they're quite thick, more especially the bulls. They've got quite thick tusks, especially at the base where it attaches to the skull. Oh, that big one at the back just pushing him out the way. So where they've been drinking water is actually, there's a little bit of spill off or runoff that's coming down from that little pan and creating a perfect mud wallow. And you can see the mud getting launched up into the air and landing on the elephant's body. So they're trying to cover the entire body with mud. That big elephant we know quite well. You see, he's only got one tusk, and he can hear me talking now. He can be quite grumpy, especially when he comes into must, and I think the other elephant bulls are aware of that. So as he nudges, whoa, that was high. You see that elephant on the left now, what he's doing? He's actually kicking with his leg. He's trying to get the mud to cover his belly as well. And that will be really soothing for him to get that nice cool mud on his belly. Especially when there's a breeze blowing, it cools him down really nicely. So I was just saying that one tusk, for as long as I've known, he's had only one tusk. We aren't exactly sure how he lost it, but we would assume either when he was feeding, so trying to push over a tree, perhaps he was using the middle of his head and his trunk, And as he was pushing, the tree might have slipped to the side and just dislodged that tusk. Or it could have been when he was fighting with another bull. There's a lot of twisting and turning, and that could have dislodged that tusk right at the base in his jaw. And that would have been, or in his skull, sorry, not in his jaw, and that would have been really, really painful. So he has reason to be grumpy. But it's fascinating. That hole actually, sometimes it goes through like a phase where it gets a little bit infected, and he'll treat it himself. So I've actually seen him putting certain types of plants, and you can see what he's doing right now. Just before that last flick, he actually blew some mud right up that hole where the tusk used to be. And so he sometimes packs it with mud and dust just to make sure that nothing gets in there.
So back to our Owino Pride, they've decided to go on a move at patrol, and this time I think they've decided on to take on a stroll in search of food. The way they're walking in unison seems like they're actually decided on what to do, and the mission is to go on a hunt. See, the lionesses stop, look, and then keep on moving. So all of them seems like they're determined while following that leader, the one in camera right now. They've been walking a long distance, so we'll still keep on following them to see what they're up to. And fingers crossed, I'm sure they're going to find something this evening to eat. Now that one there is a leader, and the two other ones are following on the edges, trying to flush out something that might be in or within the bushes. They keep on investigating every bush. Sometimes you find reedbucks and other antelopes that might be resting in the bushes, and this is a good chance that the lions might flush out the prey. But in this time, nothing is in vicinity, so they're going to walk slowly, heading to where the zebras and the wildebeest are.
Welcome back, everyone. This elephant is making his way straight towards us. So we're just trying to get out of his way. He's just letting us know who's the boss. And we still have view of those lions, the mom and the two cubs. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if he gets wind of them and he can smell them or see them, then he might chase them. But at the moment, he's quite interested in chasing us. So if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, or he's actually going to walk right past the lion. So look in the background now. You'll see on top of a little hill, you'll see the lions now. There we go. Not a care in the world. The lioness has rolled onto her back, and the cubs are actually just hiding behind her. But they are watching, the cubs were watching the elephants. Their mom is up. And here comes the other elephant. David, I couldn't agree more. And definitely out here, the elephants are the boss. We were just in his way and we had to make way for him. You might see a cub there. There we go. Just a cub in the background, just coming down the little hill from Mum. Yeah, that elephant definitely showed who's boss. He wanted to come this way and he wasn't stopping for anyone. So you don't want to be in the way of an elephant. I'm just going to move us back a little bit. So we're going to stick with these elephants for a little bit because they are starting to move into quite a nice area where they're going to be feeding. And we never know what's going to happen with those lioness, with that lioness and her cubs. So now that we moved out these elephants' way, they're just slowly moving into an area where they're going to start feeding. Behind them you'll see there's a big mountain, and with this wind that's blowing, there'll be a lot of noise on their ears, and so at the foot of the mountain they might be able to find some respite from the wind, which is where I think they're going to be heading for the evening. And as they go along, they're going to stop and they'll find... As they go along, they'll find plants and patches of grass that they might want to feed on. But I think that's their end goal. There's the last elephant is coming now. Well, the third elephant is coming now. There he is. This is the one with one tusk, so he's the one that we have to be extra careful of. You see, when he walks down a hill like that, it's quite deceiving. Some people can tend to think that he is starting to charge and get agitated. But can you imagine a 6,000 kilogram or 6-ton animal coming down a hill? Imagine the pressure that it puts on his knees and his other joints, and so it's basically just momentum pushing him down that hill. You see his behavior now. He's looking at the lioness. Oh, we've got a question from Kim Meyer, who's only 8 years old. She's asking, can elephants run? They definitely can run. Elephants have been seen running around about 50 kilometers an hour. Did you see that? He just blew some dust. What I was mentioning earlier, he picked up a little trunk full of dust and he sprayed it right into that hole where his tusk used to be. And so just looking after that hole, making sure it doesn't get infected. But yeah, elephants can run around about 50 kilometers an hour, which is really, really fast. I think in miles, that's around 22 or 23 miles an hour. So for now, that was definitely the best view we would have of these elephants, because there's no real roads on that side of where they're heading to, and the lioness and her little cubs are quite relaxed there. So I think what we're going to do is go and see if we can find some cheetah.
So back to our Owino Pride. They've just flashed out a reedbuck, like I told you earlier. So back to searching and going behind some of the bushes. Over in a distance, we have a big herd of buffaloes, and I'm not quite sure if they're going for them, because that's a breeding herd, and there's lots of young ones there. So with being 3 of them, I think they might be outnumbered. They're holding their position, those lions, while trying to search for some other prey. You can see that lioness is sentinel up on a termite mound, a good vantage point or a good position to be able to see the entire area. See, they're all locked to one side, meaning that they've seen something out there. But in the meantime, they'll still be walking until they get a good distance where they can be able to pursue the prey. Good weather, it's cool, so it's a good time for them to go for a hunt. Not much energy is needed when you're cool. Karen, thank you so much for your question. The pride success rate is not that high because out of 5 pursuit, sometimes 2 can be successful, but we've seen this pride or these lionesses try to hunt 3 days consecutively. So I can say they're not that successful. So out of 10, I'll give it maybe 1. Because this morning they tried, last morning they tried, and the other evening they tried to hunt. So you can imagine, we've seen them, we've followed them for about 3 days. They've not got something to eat. So not very successful, these ones. The other lioness has taken a rest while this other one is still looking. Still not sure whether to go for the buffaloes, but something else that they don't have to fight that much. That one knows that buffaloes are very tough, so she's not sure whether to get that direction, and I'm sure she will still hold her position and go somewhere else. See, walking where these other lionesses are. Brandon, thank you for your question. How long can they go without food? Sometimes lions can even go up to 2 weeks, but then they get so skinny. But they're known to go for up to a week or 4 days without food, depending on the type of food they eat. So that is the reason why lions will go for larger prey, which keeps them going for a little while, maybe a week or so. So I would say, how long can they go without eating? Which can be a week. They can go without eating. So the alpha lioness is heading back to where these other sisters are. See, as soon as they meet, they're going to do a groom, which is called allo grooming, a bond that enhances lion bond. I'm sorry, we've been covered by the termite mound, but I'm sure definitely that's what they've done. We'll keep following them closely and see what they're up to.
Beautiful. So eventually come right like with Kalamba here. As you can see, she's painting. She probably maybe take a, I don't know how long was that walk, but you know, she's back in this kill. I think it's her first kill, all the kills she had. And it was amazing when we get here. It was only the one hyena and there was no sign of her. But it could be that, you know, something of a shared area. You found that she didn't actually walk too far. She was just flat in this, you know, riverine around here. But it's good to have her back. You can see that she's still, you know, comfortable painting. It's how to digest. She had that kill for a while now. And she's been repeatedly, you know, feeding and go dilute, drink water, come back, paint like this. So by painting, it's actually most animal does that, especially dogs, and it helps them because they don't really sweat like we do. When they're tired, when they're hot, feel hot during the day. But with this specific cat we have here, it looks like a lot of dust pouring on her face. It's already wind. Bianca, yes, indeed, you're right. You know, it's a princess of this area, Kalamba. See how beautiful she is. You know, I was talking about how successful a hunter she is. You know, this cat. She actually very good on that. She kills, you know, her medium size of antelope from impalas and a point of view. These waterbuck, babies, and bushbuck. And looks like what I heard was that the young kudu, or I don't know, what was that she killed up in a tree. And yeah, well, she hang around here, Gary Dam, so not far from Gary Dam. What I heard was that she stole some other kill from the hyena and she hosted close to that dam wall, Gary Dam wall, right in a jackalberry tree. And this is where we would first look for her. And then we found there was no sign of her there. And then we come to this physical kill that she made. And then also she was not around. Look how beautiful. Well, eating for type of cat like this, so they eat several days in a kill. You know, you find maybe she eaten already 3 times, maybe 4 times today. And then, of course, for them to eat like that, we're still young female. So 2.5 kg for her and 3 kg should be fine every time she go eat, and then full stomach and again go lie down, do that painting. It looks like she just heard me. And digest. That's taking place right now. As you can see, the painting that's happening. And what amazes me is that, you know, last time I followed her through these bushes and then she was busy, you know, contacting, call, you know, all the time I follow her. And it's all gone, settled down now. Maybe just because of, for now, she had a meal. Of course, I don't think she will be able to tolerate right now with food around her. You know, leopards really, they don't like sharing meat. If I had actually, the name Queen, you want to know how old are these leopards? So anything, she's reaching up to 3 years older now. So, you know, we're looking at the time where she will tolerate. And of course, from now on, that's what we will be looking at. So it's actually average size for female to able to tolerate and, you know, look around, you know, growl, you know, urinating, you know, left scent behind, advertising herself. If probably she's already, you know, have a territory around here. But the first things, you know, it's very good for that leopard, you know, to set up her own territory. So when she does that, is that any males around were able to pick up her scent and able to, you know, track her down until he find her. So I'm going to take time here. I'm not going to go anywhere.
So from the leopardess down, we have our, lionesses here. They've not gone far from where we were following them, so taking time to rest as they still pursue their prey. No, they've not yet located their target, but still they'll be walking around trying to get closer inch by inch to get close to what they want to hunt, or maybe to what they'll pick for dinner tonight. Oh, look, they're being playful right now. Very typical of lions that are in one pride, which is a good bond. Now the alpha lioness is still watching out there while these two are busy playing. See, she's quite the serious one, and whenever she takes a move, the rest follows. When she rests, the others rest. She knows that Blondie is following closely, so she keeps an eye wherever they're walking, and she keeps on trailing them because she's the one that doesn't want Blondie to be close to them. Now the wind is blowing to their advantage, so it's a good way of them advancing to the prey. Now lions will go against the wind to advance to prey, and sometimes when the wind changes direction, the lions will still do the same, change direction according to the wind. Now it's quite cool, which is very advantage for them to advance to whatever they'll find. And because this area is so open and exposed, sometimes they have to sit until when it's dark to go for prey. Lions prefer hunting at cooler time of the night, or maybe evening like this, because at night, which is more of their advantage, their vision is so good. They reckon the lions can see 6 times better than us humans at night. That is why most of the time we find kills during the morning that have happened at night. But lions can be opportunistic, meaning that they'll go after prey even at whatever time of the day, but preferably they like hunting at night. See, she keeps on looking all direction. I'm sure they have something in their mind, or maybe they've located prey, but only that we can't see from here is that they have very good and sharp eyes, but I'm sure they're advancing somewhere. They have a mission. Like I told you earlier, they flashed a reedbuck, and I'm sure they'll be walking from bushes to bushes trying to see if they can flash something else out. When you watch or look at them carefully, you'll see that one raises the head to scoop while rests, and the other, they take turns in doing the same, which is a good sign that they're all keen and vigilant in whatever they're going to do. It's a little bit windy, so the alpha lioness has decided to take a little snooze or a lay on to keep off from the wind. Sometimes when the wind is too strong, they tend to relax a little bit because sometimes change what their direction and what they want to go and do. She's up again, trying to see if Blondie is following them. But I'm sure Blondie, because of his injured leg, it's quite of a distance, so it will take time before he catches up with them. So Blondie knows that these girls are up for a mission, and he'll be following them until they get something to eat. And of course, he will join them, being a powerful male. I'm not sure if he will harass them or if they will welcome. We are yet keen to know what will happen if they find something to eat. I think the sister has had enough of a rest, wants to see if she can ask for permission to go and pursue whatever they want. And sometimes when they are doing this, they play some games, stalking games. She's sniffing the sister, like, come on, get up. We have a mission. It's all... Okay, I got you. So let's go. Off they go on their mission again.
so we're trying to reposition here, get close enough to a princess. You know, it's a very chill cat. You know, lions about the same, but you know, also when they decided to lie down, and they will lie down forever, maybe. But anyway, this cat, it shows that she's been a little bit of an active during that day. We already witnessed that when we get here, she was not around, so, you know, she's been moving around pretty much. For sure, you know, when they meet, it's right up in a tree, you know, then it's comfortable for her that she don't have to work harder, you know things like that. Because of course, hyena, they're a serious threat for leopard. And they track these cats down, and they're always behind the big cats, these scavengers. And then this is how they manage to still kill from the leopard, which is they do that very easily. Look how beautiful you're on that. So, for her to go to drink, Salanya, so I don't know, I'll come back to that question. Looks like, I don't know, is a hyena coming close to her? Sorry about that, but yeah, I haven't forgotten any questions. You know, I was not too sure why she just got down all of a sudden like that. This is a pretty young hyena, I don't know why. Probably maybe the other one around. See how she reacts when she sees predators, not a predators, or the enemy. So, what you will see here, she might not actually run away right now, or you'll see, you know, hyena will probably get comfortable looking at her around. She's probably saying, I'm not scared of you, you're too young. There's a hyena pass by. Just gonna keep on eyeing at hyena. So, you know, Talamba, since her mother is Tandi the leopard, and Tandi, her mother was a garula. Look at this. Young hyena is gonna go lie down there. So Tandi, his mother was a garula, and the garula's mother was safari. Beautiful leopard that bring all of this generation that we're looking at right here. Then this female's father is a Tingana. And sorry about that. So Tingana, I know we understand that he comes often, but he doesn't really stick around much. And then it's so good that, you know, it looks like she finally got a little bit portion of, probably mother had agreed that, okay, she would have a portion around here, maybe this is the way she will dominate in this kind of area. And if it's that the case, then Tandi, she will shift maybe a little bit to the east, Torchwood property, that area, which that's where she usually been seen. So yeah, I think that's what you wanted to know. So, I mean, these cats, they grow up, sometimes they'll go away. So glad that we still have these cats with us right now and growing up right in front of us. I'm going to take Tommy, I'm not going anywhere.
Welcome back to Ambient Pinde, everyone. And we've managed to find this female cheetah, and out of the shot at the moment are her two little cubs. And just behind her is that incredible sunset that you can see starting to form. The sun at the moment is still quite high, but yeah, we managed to find this cheetah crossing the road actually, and she was heading up this ridge that we're sitting on right now. So we're quite exposed, and you might hear the wind every now and then. And that does make her quite nervous. The wind makes the odd rustle in the leaves and the grass. And so she's got those two little ones to look after. So she's come up onto the top of this ridge and she's just scanning all around her, looking for any prey. Because as it's getting dark now, the low light hours are ideal hunting conditions for cheetah. They blend in very well when the light is low like this. Makes them very difficult to spot for the animals that they're trying to hunt. But it's also from this elevation point she's got an opportunity to spot potential danger. So as it's quite overcast and getting quite cool now, the nocturnal predators might start to get a little bit more active. So she's looking out. There is a pride of lions in this area that she'll be looking out for. And a waterhole we just passed, there was a herd of buffaloes. And so she'll be looking out for anything that could be dangerous to her or her cubs. See how alert she is. But she has found, she's found a really nice vantage point up here. We can see all around us. I couldn't agree more. Neil's commenting that it's horrific sighting of the cheetah and the landscape and scenery around her. Yeah, no, it's really, really special. This is a really special part about Phinda, is this landscape that we get out in this part of the reserve. Got this open grassland with the Lobombo Mountains all around us. And the fact that we have cheetah roaming these plains in pretty good numbers is really, really special. When we were following her, something spooked the youngsters, and I don't know if something spooked them or if they were just having a game, but they took off full speed and they ran past Mom like two little flashes. So we are going to see, we're going to stick around and see if we can get another look at those youngsters to try and show you guys.
Beautiful to see a cheetah in some beautiful landscape. But let us compare the landscape in Phinda and the landscape here in the Masai Mara, in the Mara Triangle. With the elephants, tell me, what do you think? The cheetah with all that very beautiful landscape in Phinda and the elephants in the savannah, in the landscape here in the Mara Triangle. What are you feeling? What are your comments? But of course, two different species of mammoths. And I got, as usual, one baby elephant there that got half a tail. And I would be happy to get people coming to investigate or research why so many elephants here in the Mara have got half or stumps of tails. And not only youngsters like this one, which I would expect by now should be having tusks, but she doesn't have even one. I don't see a small one's coming out. I think it's a very small one coming out. And find out why we see so many of these cases here. Apart from the elephants, we have seen also leopards here in the Mara with half tails. We've seen lions like the river pride. I think the lead female in that particular pride also got a half tail. maybe find out why. Is it only genetical or there could be other reasons? We also got, apparently, I'm trying to remember, a savocat. Like 3 or 4 days ago, I saw a savocat. This morning I saw 2, but I think maybe 4 or 5 days ago. Bungay, when was it? Yeah, he says, 3 or 4 days ago. We saw a savocat also that had half a tail. So, I mean, lions, savocats, leopards, elephants now. Find out why they do have the half tails. Look at that baby there. Not one cheetah I've seen apparently with a half a tail, no. So could that explain something? The reason for me to stop here was to investigate if Jasiri could be here. Emily, how many calves can an elephant have in a lifetime? That's a very varied question, and I think, Emily, that would depend from one elephant to another. Now, let's first look at the gestation period of the cows. Is anything to do to about 2 years? And for a cow to carry a baby for 2 years, that is such a big investment. And the mother or the cow want to make sure that the baby gets nothing but the best to mature. And they may go like 3 or 4 years before committing to another baby. And looking at elephants living for about 65 years. So 2 years carrying a baby, about 4 years, making sure that baby is fully grown, 6 years. So if you get 6 years for a lifespan of about 65 years, maybe 5 babies, maybe 6. But of course, again, Emily just said, it will depend from one female to another, depending on how fertile it could be. But to carry a baby for 2 years, the cows have to make sure they give nothing but the best for such an investment. So this particular small herd here, baby Jasiri is not here. And for those of you who may be joining us now, baby Jasiri is a baby elephant we found the other day with a bad foot, and she has recovered very well, but apparently haven't seen her for the last 5 days. But the report from the vet doctors, from the rangers around this area, the last they saw her yesterday, they said she's up and about and doing very well. So what I'll do, I'll need to move to another herd of elephants and keep trying to locate that girl.
Beautiful. So the herd of elephants, it's always a great thing to see. And then what we're looking at right to the top from here, just a view of a whole bunch. It's a whole bunch of male giraffe. And then they all form their journey in that area. As you know, all now is collective journey of giraffe. Tower of giraffe, chain of giraffe, same things. But the journey, this is when they're moving. You can easily just see exactly what the male's horns look like on top of them. It's bold at a patch of white. And not long ago, was actually a young elephant was giving a little bit of hard time when that giraffe chasing after them. And they're all spread around. But I don't have a visual of that elephant right now. It's probably that they just went to the deep. So they actually, it's so far from, from here to these giraffes, so there's no chance they can spot this leopard. Otherwise, they will be looking here. Once they spot a danger, they're more likely to watch, keep on watching that area, always check, and they don't do anything else until the danger disappeared or until they move out of the scene. See the beautiful light shining through them there. And they feeding on this one of the acacia trees out here, which is thorn trees. My call, you want to know how tall is giraffe? So full-grown male giraffe would be about 5.5 meter tall, possibly 6 meter, and the male. So now we're looking at all males, but all different age. We're looking at, and remember, they're not actually territorial. Most territorial animals, they won't associate one another, especially when they're males. So there, what you see is all bunch of whole different males, but different age. If you look at them, some of them are slightly pale, and one net is slightly darker, especially this one is still showing you a lot of beautiful colors in them there. It's slightly darker. So I'm still in this position of the lamb. I'm just gonna wait around here.
Welcome back to And Beyond Pinde, everyone. And we've managed to get a view of these little cubs. And the one just to the left and below Mom, look at its body language and behavior. It thinks it's spotted something in the long grass, and it's actually growling. Look at its body language. You see how it's keeping low? It's got its ears sort of pointed in the direction that it's looking. I'll just let you guys all know there's nothing there. But it thinks it's spotted something, and that's a really good sign that this cub is so alert to potential danger. It's just something that's blowing in the wind. You see how the grass is moving behind them? And that cub is now, look how it's investigating that. I think there's a little bush that's swaying in the wind. But that's really encouraging for us. I mean, cheetah are heavily, could say, prosecuted by other bigger animals and are killed by lots of different animals out here in the bush. And so to see a youngster so alert and so cautious is really, really encouraging. You see now how it's calmed down. Mom's right behind it. Mom's looking quite relaxed. But you see it keeps whipping its face back to where that bush is. So Paul is asking quite an interesting question, which is how long will these cheetahs stay together? And these little cubs will stay with their mom till about 18 to 24 months. So usually somewhere in that time frame, mom will feel confident that the cubs are developed enough to go off on their own, and mom will actually move away from the cubs. And thereafter, the cubs will move together. That mom leaving the cubs is usually initiated by her coming into heat again and wanting to look for a male to mate with. See how nervous she is? It's just because of the wind. And you see how her behavior reflects on the cubs. They move, keep low, try to stay undetected. And so these cubs, I actually haven't had a look, but I think it's a male and a female, in which case they will stay together for a few more months after mom has left them. So when they're about 2 years old, so mom leaves them, they will stick together because they've spent every single day of their lives with one another, every single second of their lives together. And so they have a really, really close bond, and that bond is quite difficult to break. And so they will move together for quite a long time, and they'll even catch and share kills when they manage to make a kill. And then eventually the male will start to outcompete the female for food. But what will also happen around about 2.5 years is the young female will start to, depending on different individuals, around about 2.5 to 3 years, the young female will start to come into heat, and her estrous cycle will begin, and she will start to want to find a male to mate with. and so she will leave her brother. And so that split usually happens at about 2.5 to 3 years. We're not going to go anywhere. We're just going to sit with these cheetah for now, because I'm hoping the sun will pop out again, but it's not looking good. There's quite a bit of cloud, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I hope that it doesn't rain, or at least that you get the sunset you're looking for. Finally, we have got animals in the gorgeous golden glow, because it has been a tough few days of game viewing. Just having a nice old wallow, but that's not the only animal here. We've got the Egyptian geese that you can see, and then, of course, those big black animals at the back, those are Cape buffalo. But I'm sure that all of you knew that, and if you've been watching for more than 3 days, then you'll know that this is in Ndlovu Dam. This is where Mike and I spend a lot of time. And you can see why. It's because, without a doubt, there'll be something that comes around. Mr. Elephant, why have you picked up the pace all of a sudden? You're very excited. He looks quite frisky. There is another elephant bull. Maybe he's trying to catch up to his buddy. You could stay and wallow a little bit longer if you like. You've got such a good sense of smell. You'll be able to smell your friend from miles away and catch up. Look at him. It's like he doesn't want to be left behind. Perhaps they have an alternate meeting somewhere else that we don't know about. Going straight up the little incline of the dam wall. Will you grab a trunk full of sand now and toss it over your back? Because that would be fantastic. Not only would it be pretty to look at, but I feel like you would. It's almost like the finishing spray for women when we put makeup on and stuff like that, to try and get the or setting spray to get your makeup to set. I feel like that's what dust does, as it holds the mud there. Now, of course, the mud's there to cool the animal down and also suffocates parasites in the process. Off he goes. No, he doesn't want to be left behind. Funny. Perhaps they have a special bond, those two. But luckily for us, the buffalo haven't quite gone anywhere just yet. And I'm sure it is the same breeding herd of buffalo that have been lingering around for the past few weeks. Shall we, Odie, should we see if we can find some of our favorite buffalo friends? They're starting to move off, so it might be tricky, because I normally can identify them from the front end. The rear end is going to be a little bit tricky. But we are looking for a buffalo bull with some missing teeth. So that is what we're after. And he doesn't look like he can't close his mouth properly either. His teeth stick out. I don't think Tungsten, the buffalo bulls, with this lot. Maybe. He's normally with a group of bachelors. But sometimes. Who's that? No, he looks like he looks too healthy, that one. The other bull looks like a slightly older fella. But I'm hoping that they don't disappear too far. What I would like to do is actually go all the way around on the other side of the dam and see if we can't catch them. It would be really, really nice. And to get all the dust being kicked up as these big herds normally do.
Beautiful. So Kalamba now, she's up, mobile towards the kill. She's just right there looking at probably how she's thinking of maybe going up the tree there for her kill. Just gonna see if she's gonna do it right here in front of us. But she's looking up. She's probably a little hungry for that. There's a little bushes here, but I hope she go for it. She's ready to climb right now. We just see how she do it. Here we go. She's up. Right like that. Remember, they were well designed with very sharpening claws, able to help them climb any of the trees out here. What amazes me, this tree actually is a tree that, they often use around here. There's a lot of this tree around in this river, and old juggleberry tree. Very rough bark. but she did actually manage to hoist her kill on top there. Look how she do that. This is one of the things that separate this cat to most of the other cat species, including lions, cheetahs. They feel the day, but when it comes to feed, leopards has to do that first, pluck the fur off. Not all of it, but she gotta get cleaned off, and then those who left to remain there will be eaten with the skin and flesh bones be taken. Let's just take a moment of a silence, see if you can hear pluck off this hair. So the meat is well balanced there. Jenny, you want to know how much long for the leopard it takes for them to digest. So, it doesn't take long. So, this cat will have to feed a few times, maybe 4 times a day, 5 times a day if it's possible. So, it depends on the weather. Hot, and that's where it makes them, digest very quickly. But also, if it's cloudy, that's where they also, if you come across that cat still, or recent has just have feed on something, you won't see a lot of that painting because the weather is actually not is very good for that animals, or not good, very good for digest. But it doesn't take long, maybe about 3 hours sometimes, 3 hours and a half digestion. But if, for example, this cat, it's got this meat right here, so when she eat, I mention anything about 2 kg, 2.5 kg each time. But this is when they have a lot of meal. If it's nothing, they can take less than that, maybe 1 or half a kilo. So just to get an energy and get going. If they would kill anything like squirrels, there's nothing in there, just, a couple of grams and, of course, just a little snack and get energy and going. So, but this was actually full prey for her. This is actually medium size, or was a medium size. I see it's been, a lot of meat been taken there already since she killed it. But, with the lions, about the same. Lions are feed, a lot of, times, twice, again, repeatedly. Take turns, go to feed. But with her, since we saw how she does it, pluck the fur off, it's just because they have a lot of chances. They, you have ability to, host their kill. And once they're done that, then it's all comfortable for them. And then we just saw young hyena running around in this ground here. This is one of the, serious enemy for the leopard. But then she don't have to worry because now her kill is up in a tree, it's safe. Unless if another same species of another leopard will come around here, of course with a very powerful, strong animal, will eventually chase her up and, of course, steal that kill. Or even a mother, she will try to, feed on that. You will see how they will growl each other because they don't really share food. I'm gonna just take time and wait.
Well, we luckily have got a view of Hlolamba's mother at the moment, which is quite nice. That is Tundi, but she is far off at the moment. She's inside of Torchwood, and we're waiting for her to slowly come. We've been kind of being patiently waiting for her. She's been slowly edging closer towards Djuma for a while now, and all of a sudden she's turned around and kind of headed back, but at least she's up on a mound and we can kind of see her for now. So I'm hoping that what she's going to do is come down the mound and head back towards where we are. Her general direction has been westwards the whole afternoon, and so hopefully that will continue to be her direction and we'll get a bit of a closer view. But for now, she's just sitting on a mound. Apparently, she's been hunting since about lunchtime. She was spotted at about lunchtime in front of Torchwood Camp, and she's been, since then, moving around trying to hunt various different things. So clearly, she's on the lookout for food, which also makes me think that maybe her cub is somewhere near Torchwood, because this is the third time since I've been here that she's been seen coming from that dam sort of midday and then does these afternoon hunting sort of forays into Djuma and to Buffelshoek and Torchwood. So I suspect that's where the little cub is at the moment. I know a lot of you have been asking about it and wondering whether or not the cub is okay. I suspect that it is, given that she keeps going back to the same places. She keeps kind of Djuma, then back to Torchwood, and everything she does seems to indicate that that's where she wants to spend most of her time at the moment, and that there's a really great drainage line there that is absolutely perfect for her to keep the cub. So I suspect that's why she's doing it. But isn't she beautiful? Look at that. Oh, you're so gorgeous. All right, well, we're going to sit and wait for her. She's going to just take a bit of a rest for now. So hopefully she'll eventually start heading our direction. But we'll just have to be a little bit patient.
Now our lionesses have decided to take a rest. The alpha lioness has laid down in the grass. We're starting to feel the rain, some few droplets here. They have changed their mind and decided to follow where the buffalo herd is heading. And I'm sure the buffaloes are heading to drink water right now, because buffaloes take time during the night or evening to feed and drink. So right now the buffaloes will be walking closely to our water hole, where these lions seems like they are waiting for the buffaloes to advance to where the water is. See, these two are still watching the buffaloes heading to the water hole, but the alpha female is lying down quietly because there's some rain. Now, lions or cats don't like getting wet. That is the reason why she's seeked some shade. You can see now that lioness has got some attention, still watching where the buffaloes are heading. There's lots of calves in the buffalo herd, and I'm sure those are the ones that these guys might be able to go and target, or maybe a weaker one or an old one which can fall prey to these lionesses. Now that's a big herd, and during the night they'll stop somewhere to rest. A good sign that these lions might be able to isolate one, because not all of them are able to see where the lions are, and because of the wind and also the rain, that will play an advantage to the lions. Now, taking time to rest is a good idea, because if they decide to go for a hunt, then a lot of energy is needed. So 3 of them will actually be able to break down a full mature buffalo, especially the females. Now, this time, the alpha female resting, these two are quite curious on when she'll wake up. See, that one is not really up for it. She wants to really head to where the buffaloes are. Remember, like I told you, this pride has missed out on hunt 3 times in a row. So tonight they're hopeful that they'll find something to eat. Now we're going to follow them keenly and closely to see what will happen. As soon as it gets dark, they will move closer to the buffaloes. Now as we wait, let's see what they're doing.
Welcome back to Ambient Pinde, everyone. And we've repositioned once again. It doesn't seem like the sun is going to come back at all, so we try to come around a little bit to have a look at the faces of these little cubs. And they are snoozing. But waking up every now and then, which is really encouraging again to see. They're really alert. So you see the cubs are actually very different in coloration. The one is really light, and this one that Craig's going in on now, you'll see it's got quite a dark coat. It's going to flop over onto its shoulder now. And can you see that long fluffy fur around its neck and on the back of its shoulders? So that's still some what we'd call baby fluff that will, as it grows older, as this little cheetah gets older, that fluff will start to come out. It's quite an angry looking little face that it's got, and I don't think it's happy with this wind. It hasn't been able to sleep all day. And now it's looking right at us. Oh, Mina Moo's come with a brilliant question. She's asking, do the cheetah cubs run at the same speed as mom can? So these are still really, really young cubs. They're only between 4 and 5 months old. And so they haven't quite reached full speed. But at this age, their defensive strategy or their defensive behavior is to run away. So they have developed quite a lot of speed, and they're capable of bursts of speed much faster than any of the other animals out that could be dangerous to them. So the big buffaloes and maybe lions, leopards, these little cheetah can probably hit like 70 kilometers an hour by now. We saw a little show of it when we were on our way up the hill following them. Something spooked the youngsters and they darted off, literally like two little flashes. You saw that little white tip of the tail, and that was it. So not quite able to run as fast as mom can yet, but they've certainly developed the muscles for speed, and those will keep developing as they get older. But I would say probably around about 7 or 8 months they'll be able to hit full speed, maybe be as fast as mom. They'll even be able to start catching things like scrub hares, young impala. So when the impalas give birth to their lambs is coming soon in November, December time. And by that stage these will be about 6 or 7 months old, and they will probably start trying to chase little impalas themselves. Probably ruin a few of mom's hunts, but maybe catch. Look at this cub on the left at how it's sleeping. Oh, nodded off, and breeze woke it up again. So myself and Craig are gonna leave these cheetah now, and we're going to see if we can find any nocturnal animals that are starting to get active now.
Well, we said that we were going to try and get backlit buffalo, but it's proving to be a little bit difficult because, as OD pointed out, we'll be staring at the rump of a buffalo, which is tasty, but perhaps not nice to look at. So we thought we'd just come on around on a sneaky road. So we're right at the eco-training camp now. I can even smell dinner cooking. Perhaps that's why the buffalo are lingering around. But now that they have had a drink, and some of them have opted to have a bit of a wallow, off they go. Hello, big boy. That's a beautiful buffalo. Not often you'll hear me saying that about them. He's covered in mud. No new mud, though. Looks like maybe flaking off of him. It's also amazing, though, how... Oh, there's a little bit of mud on his back legs. But how they cover themselves literally from the tip of their nose to the ends of their tails. And then in a few days, it all flakes off, and they're as good as new again. We may have to do a fair amount of repositioning because, can you believe it, a herd of buffalo have now managed to go past us. We didn't want to move around because they're normally jumpy. They can be quite nervous. So we sat still for a very, very long time and they relaxed with us. Not quite Sabi sand buffalo that, you just do. But they normally do. Perhaps they're starting to pass. I don't know if maybe... Not sure what I'm going to do.
Well, unfortunately for us, Thandi has just disappeared from view for now. She is kind of heading roughly in our direction, but in the meantime, we have a beautiful sunset that is coming down over the western horizon. You can tell it's still winter because you can't see the mountains at all at the moment. They're covered in smoke and haze, but I'm hoping that Thandi is going to slowly kind of make her way towards where we are, purely based off the fact that there's some impalas directly in front of us. And the way that she's moving is kind of parallel with them, but sort of angling roughly towards where they are. So we thought we'd just watch the sunset and hopefully she'll be able to make a plan and kind of come a little bit closer and we'll get a better view of her at some point. For now, she's just in a situation where she's, being difficult. It's fine. We'll whisper to her and tell her to come a little bit closer. Absolutely beautiful view, though, isn't it? And it's so still at this time of the day as well. Very, very cool. Okay, well, we're going to be patient. We'll watch the sun go down and just savor the dawn, or dusk, should I say.
Very good. Sunsets are always wonderful here in Africa. But unfortunately, or sadly, not where I am in this part of the Mara, because you see some huge overcast and then we had a heavy storm. But now the rains have stopped. But you can tell today, it's not one of those days we are going to see the sunset. Still got some animals taking advantage of the daylight. These are the Bachel zebras. And any light now will count if none of them, or if all of them are not very full. And knowing zebras are not ruminants, they need to maximize or what they are going to feed on, because at night they tend to eat less. If they do, they know the challenges they face in the darkness. So daylight is very important for them to maximize. They're heading towards small little, I would say, hills, and I would guess they may go there and spend the night there. And you have always seen sometimes, if they walk that way, we have seen herds of lions also going towards the hill, following them. Not sure they want to remain at the bottom of the hill, where when it rains like today, it gets a bit muddy, and it's not very good for their hooves to spend the whole night in black cotton soil that is wet. Sometimes it gives them what you call foot rot, but they don't get affected more like the elephants or the buffaloes. It's time now also to listen to all the dust birds that will be coming out at a time like now. I'm talking of nightjars, owls. This is the time they'll be starting their day. While the rest, or most of them, will be like taking it easy and coming back tomorrow I'm talking of like the oxpeckers, for example, egrets, many storks, but maybe not the herons. The herons will feed both day and night. Or the grass birds like cisticolas or larks that you'd see in like the grass, they also slow down. But it's the time for other carnivores like the savocats also to catch them. This one is catching up, trying to race and catch up with the rest. You don't want to be left behind. You risk being brought down by predators. Hyenas also could be a concern to these zebras. So you need to catch up with that herd in front. To me, it looks like a small herd of one stallion, one mare, and maybe two youngsters, like the typical structure of zebras. Occasionally, you'll get one stallion with a few wives, sometimes two or three, and the youngsters. It shows they're taking that road or going towards that direction, where definitely when it gets dark, they'll spend the night. Remember, we are coming to you live from the Masai Mara. We'd love to hear from you by sending questions or comments to hashtag WildEarth on Twitter or at FC in the comment section of the YouTube chat channels. I'm very convinced these zebras are done for the day. You can tell from that gait and speed. But all they'll do, they'll move, and once in a while, they will stop, just to make sure they're safe. It's one area, once in a while, I've seen hyenas here, and what I want to do is just drive forward and chance on those nocturnal hyenas or more the spotted hyenas that will always come out and maybe chance bringing down a zebra. All right?
It's amazing things what I had. Looks like, good news that the Tandi also, she was seen in an area far east. It's hard to tell now. Got a whole family reunion happening. But, Kalamba, she hasn't stopped feeding. She's still having her meal for now. It's going to be this happening a lot. It's going to be happening a lot that she got up and eat, even in night time. That's going to happen. So look at Betty, it will expand right now since she got into that position of a meat. Sorry for the sensitive viewers, but this is normally happened. Cats kill to eat, and they're carnivores species. They hunt mainly prey species, which is gonna be an antelope. See them kill, it's not nice. But also it's not nice to see leopard starve to death. So it's covered both there. So sorry about that. Looks like the fly is in front of her, right there. It's all taking places. But remember, you send your questions. Again, you still take your question, send your question through hashtag WildEarth and at the FC as well. Questions, kids question at wildearth.tv, and then we'll be answering your question right here where we're watching this beautiful Princess Kalamba live to you from Djuma Private Game Reserve. And looks like, I'm not sure if she's going to be still around here tomorrow. I'm hoping that she don't go away because she's always a beautiful animal to watch. And how she interacts with us every time, you walk her and find her. She get threatened, but finally she chilled again. The minute you drive in, she just forget about what was happening there for the last past seconds that you were there with her. So beautiful. And look at that branch she's at right now. She even sits, but comfortably. Many of the trees out here, they are, probably looks the sound of a hyena, probably in the river. There's a little chunk of meat that fell off, and they were all fight down there, we can't see. So there is a hyena in this area as well. She gotta hold it carefully, otherwise, if she lose it there, fell down, I guarantee you that she won't get it back, because it looks like more than one hyena down there. But she still have her last, or probably the other meal she had close to the dam wall there, and it's still up in that tree. So Andre, very good question that, you want to know if the leopard cub also eat from the tree. So once what happened, so leopard cubs, every time they're introduced to the meat, this is when they already 4 months, this is when the first time they be taken, the mother will lead them to a kill scene, and then for that they were able to, once you go to the position of the kill, she let them to locate themselves where the kill is. So that's how they gain experience first things. But of course, if the meat is up in the trees, you'll see whoever first climb that tree to get to that position of the meat, if there are 2 cubs, is the one who will actually first eat. So of course, yes, they can depend on where the meat is. Usually if it's on the ground, they would eat on the ground. And then this is how the mother position that meat for them. But if it's up in a tree, even that height, 4 months old, the leopard can still get there, climb right there to that meat to feed on, and comfortably get down again. So they already have that skill. Already seen a hyena here running around. And it looks like she had a lot of visitor right now. So I'm gonna take another moment here, see what is happening.
How incredible is this? We were searching the whole afternoon for lions and possibly wild dogs in some different parts of the reserve that we haven't been in such a long time. As soon as it cooled down, we decided let's go back to where we had that pride this morning, and they haven't moved too far. What's actually so nice is that all of them have moved into this open grassland. And you can see here's the white female and the white male lying down close together. But what I'd like to do is I'd love to show everyone the color of her eyes in particular. Now, normally with lions, they have like these yellow color eyes, like the one in the back. But notice her eyes. You'll see it has this bluish tinge if she is going to be looking anywhere in this direction. You can see she's really tired. And it might be because they've been resting quite a bit of the day that she's now just waiting patiently for all the females to get up and start moving. You can see how she's breaking ears back and forward, probably just listening to all of them. And remember a while ago she got separated from the rest of the pride, so every time the pride moves, she's the first one that will pick up her head to make sure that she's not left behind again. And what's interesting about this pride now at the moment, so the 2 dominant male lions aren't here at the moment. However, that young male, see right in the middle, he's still around with the pride. And the other day when there was that buffalo carcass, the females allowed him also to feed. So it's really good because then at least It gives him time. His leg is a lot better, so he can at least put a lot more pressure on his leg. And for some of the viewers that don't know the story behind that, so a while ago, we think it was maybe one of the Ross males, so in other words, the two dominant males within this pride fought with this male, and we at a stage thought maybe they tore either the ligaments or maybe broken the leg, because he couldn't put any pressure on that leg. But now it's not fully recovered, but he can still put a lot of pressure on it. He's able to run, so he's doing better. At least with the whole pride being around, they can look after him. But he's also at that stage where he should have already been pushed out of this pride because of the dominant males. However, because he's showing that he is submissive, and whenever the dominant males do move in, he'll move away from the pride and lie down on the outskirts, and because of that, they'll tolerate him for a lot longer. Just back with this beautiful female and those bluish color eyes. Nancy, it's a really good question, and I mean, there's a lot of discussion about it, and what I do know, though, is that with darker-maned lions, there are some research that suggests that females are more attracted to darker-maned lions. However, being even a white lion, I mean, with him, he most likely, if he gets pushed out of this pride, will be with another brother, or maybe with other young males that are probably the same age as him. So it's not going to put him at a disadvantage. But it tends to show that in some areas the females are more attracted to the males with the darker mane, maybe the more impressive mane. But it's yet to see how he's going to turn out, because when he was born, he was snow. It looked like he was snow white in color. And then as he started getting older, it turned more of a I'm trying to find the word there, but a dirty wash of white. And who knows, maybe as he gets older, that mane of his might even have some dark colors within it. I'm not too sure. So we'll only be able to find out as he grows. But look at the size of that lioness that just picked up her head. Just notice the size of her neck and her back. And she's now staring at what looks like another lion making their way towards where the pride's lying down. And while sitting and watching them, we had such a beautiful sunset over the Drakensberg that were in the distance. As you can see earlier, those beautiful colors that we can see in the background. See how young female just touching against the older female there, just basically reigniting that bond. But what an incredible, incredible sighting to be at.
Well, from an incredible sighting to one that is not so incredible, what that looks like is just a road. But as you go and you get further and further and further, and it took us a long time to spot her after all the vehicles left, because, well, she's positioned herself in a way that you can hardly see her. But there's the little spots of Tundi's back all the way inside Torchwood. I'm not sure how we actually spotted her there. But anyway, that's where she is at the moment. She looks like she's sleeping and she's down. And so I don't think she's going to be coming our side. But it's amazing how camouflaged they can be on top of a mound. You would think that she would stand out like a sore thumb. But from where we're sitting, it really does just look like a little branch next to a mound. But luckily, we decided just to investigate it, just to make sure, because we sat with the impalas for a while to see, and she didn't arrive, so we came back to have a little look. Anyway, we're going to leave her there. It's, like I said, not going to be any better view than what we've got, and we'll try and see if we can find something else.
Beautiful. So poor Tandy, she always going to be her mission, do her things, trying to get their meal. Just like what her daughter's happening, that she got a luck with this antelope right up in a tree that's feeding. And it looks like it's getting finished for me when I look at it. It's not like it was when we get it here anyway. It looks like it's already a lot of meat been taken since you get up that tree. But that doesn't mean maybe she will finish it once. You're probably gonna leave a little bit and then go down. But if she don't come down now, just because of a hyena, they're all over here. It's like we've seen 3 hyena already running around in this ground here, and they're all hopping for anything that falls. But for me, looking at the other side of that meat, looks like it's already out of control there, but I'm sure she's on it. It won't fall for now, then. Kill like this, there's already a lot of flies in that. It's not actually too much smell for, I haven't seen any vultures here since we got here, so not even the batalia, which those are the eagles that probably get into, position of the kill if they ever, pick up any thermos. It was actually beautiful, warm, day for kind of vulture to hunt around here. But it's just because the meat wood was maybe well hiding in a branch. Beautiful of hyena that we just showed you now, just because they're moving around between us. And just because of, you may hear a lot of a little growl here, but it's just because of, there's a big hyena, there's a small one, somebody has to get out. And those are the weakest. So probably this will even when she finished by maybe, let's say, tonight, and she's probably going to take it easy. That's a hyena, everyone. That's what you can hear on there. My right-hand side there. So she's probably going to, even when she done finish this by tonight, maybe middle of the night, and she's still going to be around. Yeah, look at these hyenas. Look at them. It's just such a beautiful setting. We've been just enjoying all of it, and slowly but surely there's a nice cold breeze that is coming into the area as well. I'm just looking at the mountains in the back, and some of the lions, early on it sounded like another male lion was roaring in the distance, and all the lions pricked up their head and they were staring down in that direction to see if they can hear this male, or maybe even pick up on it. But imagine eventually if those males join up with the pride, what's going to happen? Or even if the pride is going to respond to those males calling. You can hear in the background there's a bird calling. It's known as a spotted thickney. So normally this time of the day is also when you can hear all the birds that come out during the evening. Kimberly, I agree with you, it is absolutely gorgeous. Just look at how this young male turned himself around, and you can just see, maybe because of that belly, he could have had something to eat over the last day or two, and just by lying down like that, it's so nice and comfortable for him. But notice how light in color his belly is, especially going all the way down to his foot. And if you had to compare it against his shoulder, you can see whenever lions, especially if you're searching for them, it's so nice when they do lie down on their backs, because you'll be able to spot them from quite a distance. See, that young male's also now turned around.
And I wonder, the biggest story here is, I wonder where these lions are going to end up if they had to start moving now. Are they going to move off to the right? Are they going to stay here? Are they going to look for something to hunt? Maybe go down to the water to drink?
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.